We've all heard of the Bermuda Triangle and the thousands of people who have supposedly disappeared while traveling through it. However, there are still so many other mysteries surrounding this area. Though you'll never see it written on a map, here are some surprising facts you didn't know about the Bermuda Triangle. Don't get lost along the way. Be sure to click that red subscribe button in order to find your way back to the richest. Not really a triangle. Ready to have your mind blown? The Bermuda Triangle isn't actually a triangle. What? But it's right there in the name, isn't it? Well, even though many consider the points between Miami, Florida, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the island of Bermuda to be the three anchors, the Bermuda Triangle has no official boundary. In fact, many of the strange occurrences that take place in the center of the triangle have also been reported around what many consider to be the perimeter of it. Additionally, the Bermuda Triangle isn't recognized as a real place, which is why it isn't found on any official world map or in an atlas. Even the United States Navy declares it nothing more than open ocean with unusually strong currents. Basically, there is no magical line that once crossed condemns the explorer to unfathomable terror. That's only in books and movies. Truthfully, the entire region is prone to unpredictable and intense weather patterns, which extends beyond the invisible borders of the triangle as we mentioned earlier. This causes severe sea storms and even hurricanes. Some of these storms are so wild that they could knock planes out of the air. Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center. Inside the invisible boundaries of the Bermuda Triangle, you'll find the Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center. It belongs to the American government and is located facing the tongue of the ocean on Andros Island in the Bahamas. The tongue of the ocean refers to a deep oceanic trench in the Bahamas, which separates the islands of New Providence and Andros. It is a laboratory used by the Navy to test submarines, sonar, and even weapons. Using a deep ocean basin approximately 15 nautical miles wide, 100 nautical miles long, and more than 6,000 feet deep, they are able to test all kinds of things, leading some people to wonder what else they could be doing there. According to their website, they have 3 sophisticated test ranges. They use these ranges to test and evaluate underwater research benefiting the United States Naval Services. AUTEC uses a deep water range for weapons testing and can track 63 in-water objects simultaneously. They also have in-air tracking capabilities which allow them to test various systems and ranged weapons. They even have a similar range for in-water tracking, which allows them to experiment with various forms of underwater systems. Methane gas. When we think about methane, our first thought is usually cows. However, there are also large amounts of methane gas trapped thousands of feet below the ocean floor. When this gas escapes and is released into the sea, it changes the density of the water. It is believed that this phenomena could cause the buoyancy levels to shift, allowing ships to sink. The idea first gained popularity in 1998 when Dr. Ben Klennel of Leeds University in England delivered a lecture on the subject. He theorized that the methane breaching the surface of the water could even erupt and ignite passing planes. Flaming methane could also explain some of the UFO sightings in the area, since they are often described as lights in the sky. While there are definitely some strong believers of this theory, there are others that feel it's unlikely. In 2014, it was argued that the largest reserves of methane gas trapped beneath the sea floor are found quite far away from the Bermuda Triangle. In addition to that, the methane would also need to pass thousands of feet of sediments below the ocean floor, then 1,000 feet of water before reaching the surface. By then, it likely wouldn't cause much damage. It's huge. Looking at its location on a map, you don't really get quite how large the Bermuda Triangle really is. It covers an area of roughly 500,000 to 1,510,000 square miles. That's larger than Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma combined at the low end of the scale. No wonder so many people get lost in there. Since there are no set boundaries, the actual area of the triangle has been subject to debate for years. It's also incredibly deep and contains a variety of topography. For one stretch, there may be gently sloping underwater mountains. In another stretch, it could suddenly drop into a seemingly bottomless ravine. Many people believe that these deep craters may be the reason why it's so difficult to track the wreckage of ships and planes. In addition to the underwater landscapes, there are also incredibly strong currents beneath the waves. One of those currents is the Gulf Stream, which moves quickly and is incredibly powerful. If a plane needed to make an emergency water landing, or if a ship was having engine troubles, it's possible that this major surface current could carry them away from their last reported position very quickly, making them harder to track. No formal study. Despite the Bermuda Triangle's notoriety, there has never been a formal study performed here. Why? Because most government officials, researchers, and scientists don't believe there's anything mystical going on there. As we mentioned before, it's not even on the map. So where does all the information come from? Well, primarily it comes from private investigators and would-be researchers looking for answers. Many works of fiction have been written regarding the triangle as well, propelling others to search for sunken cities, aliens, and massive ship graveyards. However, what many stories forget to mention is that the areas within and surrounding the Bermuda Triangle are actually heavily traveled by cargo and cruise ships, and it's very rare that they sink. There are also plenty of commercial and private aircrafts buzzing overhead, and if they do go down, it's usually during a storm. Despite evidence to the contrary, there's always someone willing to take it a little further. So the mystery lives on, and the theories just get wilder and wilder as pop culture continues to sometimes inaccurately report and embellish the incidents surrounding the triangle. But hey, what's life without a little silliness and unbridled adventure? Still with us? Don't get lost along the way, because it's time for our trivia question. Who was the first person to feel the effects of the Bermuda Triangle? Stay tuned for the answer. Compass points toward true north. When using a compass to travel by land, air, or sea, the needle will point towards magnetic north. True north, also known as the North Pole, is about 1,500 miles away from its magnetic counterpart. So if you're looking for Santa Claus, most compasses just won't do it. Maybe that's how he stayed hidden for so long. So what does this have to do with the Bermuda Triangle? Well, it's one of the few places on Earth where a compass will point toward true north, or so the story goes. The gap in degrees between the two norths is known as the compass variation and can differ as much as 20 degrees. That's a pretty big difference when you think about it. The U.S. Coast Guard has even blamed this phenomenon for misleading their compasses while traversing through the Bermuda Triangle. However, that's not quite what happens. The needle of a compass will always point to magnetic north, but in one very specific stretch of the triangle, the magnetic and absolute geographic north fall on the same line. So if someone has not adjusted their charts to consider compass variation, they may end up dramatically off course. Time storm. Bruce Gernon had been flying through the Bermuda Triangle with his father for years. In fact, they'd made at least a dozen flights to and from Andros Island since 1967. So in December 1970, while flying together with a business associate, they didn't anticipate any issues. They took off from the Andros Town Airport in their Beechcraft Bonanza 836 like any other day. However, not long after takeoff, Gernon noticed something odd. He recalled seeing a lenticular cloud about a mile ahead of them hovering low over the ocean. As they got closer, the cloud grew into a huge cumulus cloud. As they climbed up to 11,500 feet, the cloud seemed to engulf them. While traveling at 195 miles per hour, Gernon said they came across another cloud even larger than the first. Upon entering the cloud, it was dark and there were bright flashes like lightning, but without the bolts. They tried to turn and break from the cloud, but it seemed endless. Concerned, he radioed in their location, but air traffic controllers said they couldn't see them, but there was another plane near Palm Beach, Florida that met their description. Somehow they had made the 75-minute flight in 47 minutes. To this day, Gernon doesn't know what happened to the extra 28 minutes. Atlantis. The lost city of Atlantis was once thought to house an advanced society. However, despite the stories, no one is really sure whether it was a real place or nothing more than a figment of Plato's imagination. We can't really be sure since it's so fantastical, but there are certainly a lot of theories in favor of the legends being true. For many years, people have searched for the lost civilization, combing the ocean floor for clues. One of those theories involves the Bermuda Triangle. Two researchers, Pauline Zalitsky and Paul Weinzweig, believe that the ancient city may have been swallowed by the triangle many years ago. While working off the coast of Cuba in 2001 with a robotic submersible, the pair spotted what they believed to be a gigantic city at the bottom of the ocean. Supposedly, the site includes several pyramids, sphinxes, and other structures. They believe that the city was lost following the end of the last ice age, when sea levels rose dramatically, causing islands, continents, and coastlines to change or disappear entirely. Whether it's actually Atlantis remains to be seen, but it's a pretty incredible discovery nonetheless. Pacific Cousin. Believe it or not, the Bermuda Triangle isn't the only strange occurrence in the ocean. On the other side of the world, in the Pacific Ocean, there lies the Devil's Sea, also known as the Dragon's Triangle or Taiwan Triangle. The Pacific Bermuda Triangle is roughly 62 miles south of Tokyo. It is sometimes referred to as a paranormal location, although many of these stories have since been debunked. The boundaries of this triangle seem to be contained between Taiwan, the volcanic island of Miyakejima Island, and Iwo Jima. Reports of its size and defined points seem to vary, as the only accounts stem from the 1950s when a Japanese research vessel disappeared. In addition to the Berlitz Kayomaru No. 5, which had a crew of 31 aboard, there were also several military vessels and fishing boats that were lost between 1952 and 1954 alone. More than 700 sailors went missing in this region within that 2-year span, causing many ships to avoid the area. However, there are quite a few doubts regarding its existence, especially since there have been no recent reports. Some even believe that the Dragon's Triangle isn't real and that the stories are just that, stories. Accidents. Over the years, there have been stories of planes and ships mysteriously disappearing as they travel through the Bermuda Triangle, never to be seen again. It is estimated that roughly 1,000 people have vanished without a trace as well. Between 1800 and 2017, there have been 13 aircrafts and 11 ships that have succumbed to the triangle's allure. However, when you think about it, there are other areas with just as many, if not more, reported incidents. It seems that, given the mysterious and unnatural nature of the Bermuda Triangle, many tend to over-exaggerate the accidents that happen there. For example, many people believe that those lost within the Bermuda Triangle have simply vanished into thin air due to the fact that no trace of the accidents are typically found. What many of the reports neglect to mention, however, is that most of the incidents have occurred during rough weather or storms. It's also possible that the strong currents and deep underwater ravines have hidden the wreckage of several accidents, but it's too far down to confirm with our present technology. Maybe one day we will be able to locate the missing pieces and better understand why this region is so treacherous at times. Before we travel back to dry land, did you figure out who was the first person to feel the effects of the triangle? If you guessed Christopher Columbus, you're right. In 1492, it is said that his compass started to fail while traversing the Bermuda Triangle, panicking the crew. Thankfully, they made it out again, though, and continued their voyage. Surprising, isn't it? But don't disappear on us yet. There's plenty more to discover over at TheRichest. Why not check out some of our other spellbinding and unexplainable featured videos? And you won't even need a compass to find us if you click that red subscribe button. Thanks for watching.